Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skills Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NAIA, NJCAA, and a growing number of NCAA coaches to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 4-minute, 40-shot test can be taken free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. You know, all of these ideas and thoughts that you have, and I even like when you're talking about Ted Lasso, all the little things that he does and how, are those things that you learned along the way? Or I hate to say it, like, are you, when I say special, unique, like in any field, and we call them, like right now in the NBA, they call them unicorns, right? They're the people that are kind of outliers in the way they think and the way that, I mean, is that you, or is this?
I got lucky. I'm a natural contrarian. I don't like to do what other people do. I don't like to be weird, but I like to be different. And I don't care if that bothers anyone. That only makes it more fun. Mm-hmm. So it's easy. Like, for instance, here's a great question. If you asked 100 coaches to answer this question, if you were on an 8-game winning streak or an 8-game losing streak, under which circumstance would you be the bigger butthole? Okay. Ask yourself that question. What's your answer?
Now, do I have to choose both, or can I give a follow-up?
No, either one or the other.
All right. Well, I'll start by, naturally, I think the down 8, especially when I was starting out. But I think the question that I'd follow up with.
Oh, you're saying how would it morph as you change as a coach? You're talking about change.
I've changed. Now. I think my natural tendency, like if I couldn't control it would be to be frustrated with the losing and to be a butthole when I'm like that. Everybody, for the most, like you alluded to, parents, players, everybody's happier when there's winnings. But there is a way that you can win but still be frustrated because you don't feel like you're getting better. And there's a way that you can lose and be not okay with it, but excited about the direction that you're heading.
See, that's why. So you pretty much answered like the normal people answer, because you're normal, and right. Like I answered because I'm the other 10%. And see, to me, I'm not saying I enjoy the losing, but I'm a natural contrarian. So when we're winning a lot, I go, oh boy, here comes the slippage, because that's what happens.
Now, is that pessimist?
No.
Is that being a pessimist? Okay.
No, not at all. And then the other side is, it's easy to kick a kid when he's down. So I would always walk up to the best looking woman in a bar, and I would never tell her she was beautiful, because everyone's already told her that all day. I'll make you laugh. Maybe you'll remember that. Right. Okay. So I don't know how I drifted off of that.
That's good advice, though. It's good advice.
Yes, I mean, don't fawn over people, but I mean, there's just something to be said for just, having the presence of mind, I guess, in asking yourself, like, I'm very reflexive. Like, a lot of times, even though I seem like I don't think what I say about what I say, I'll say to myself, if I say this, what's my downside? And it might be a split second. How would I receive what I'm about to say? Well, maybe that would change the way I'd say it. Maybe that would change what I say, or if I say it, right? But I do. So when I'm losing, I'm thinking, okay, everyone else wants to be a butt. I'm not going to be a butt. I'll make them figure that out. I'll stay positive through the middle of it. Now, in the middle of the 5th and 6th game, when I start seeing a little bit of slippage, 2%, 3%, and I know where we're going, right? Going back, we're taking the bell curve right back down to mediocrity, because I know the bell curve. I've ridden that damn thing for 31 years, right? And the trick is to stay on the left side rising, not on the right side dropping, right or wrong? Yeah. And so I'm getting long-winded on the answer, but because I'm a natural contrarian, I kind of almost welcome it, because at 8-5, the year you win state, you're 8-5. All your critics are hammering you. That's okay. Bring it on. Because if I had thin skin, I wouldn't be doing this for a living. And all you're really doing is showing me who my real enemies are anyway, which is fine, because unless you can get me fired, what do I care if you approve of me or not? I don't care if that lady at Marcus liked me. I don't care if the clowns at Plano West, none of it matters. It doesn't matter. Yet your players have to matter.
one of my favorite Christian rappers is his name's Trip. At Grapevine Faith, I've learned. I mean, I didn't even know about Christian rap before I came here. I didn't know even that was even a thing. And now I know them all. But Trip Lee, he said, trophies don't go to the ones that have a good beginning. And I think that's difficult as a coach. You want to start the year off well, and then the majority of us want the year to continue to go well, and you want the season to end well. But the truth is, it rarely ends well if you're not going through some adversity, that 8-5 early on. And how many times, if we are in control of the scheduling, how many times are we handicapping the potential of our teams because we're not throwing them in the fire enough early on?
Well, without making it, personal, but the classic example is what Plano went through this last year. It has nothing to do with the fact that I used to be there. But at 5-0, you're happy. At 10-0, it's cool. At 15-0, you're stoked. At 20-0, are you starting to get nervous? Because that's back to my pessimism of slippage. Yeah. Because I'm a big believer that steel sharpens, as one,
iron sharpens iron. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And the bottom line is there's a tendency to slip because the little things you did to make yourself extraordinary are the little things that when you stop doing them, they make you ordinary. And then you're riding the bell curve down to mediocrity. And then you're on the bottom making excuses. I used to always tell my guys, I said, look, man, there's whatever the number would be that year. There's 300 6A, 5A, it was 5A at that point. There's 300 5A schools in Texas. Okay. All 300 people are going to cry at the end of the year. 299 are going to cry tears of this sucks. And one team's going to be lucky and cry happy tears, but we're all going to cry. So are you wanting to end the season for everything that we've worked for because you were too stubborn to acknowledge that November's mistakes have to end on December 1st? And December mistakes have to end on January 1st. And January mistakes have to end on February 1st. If you're not willing to, accept that burden, then either don't play or sit on the bench and watch someone try harder than you. That's just how it is. Because, you got to go out and do this one time. Go make a list of everybody you ever played against in high school that went to the – don't do college because college is a merger of other states. But leave it at your coaching experience and your playing experience. Right? Make a list of everyone you played against, your coach against, who plays in the NBA. Played in the NBA. I got 60 guys on his list. And that's not because I'm big time. It's because Dallas basketball is really good.
Yeah. Texas basketball is crazy good now.
Just get into the Final Four. If you make it to the Final Four in any classification, but especially the big ones, that basically means you're the king of Houston, you're the king of Dallas, you're the king of San Antonio, and you're the king of Pig's Knuckle, Texas, whatever. But my bad. Sorry for all the people who live in Pig's Knuckle, Texas. But you know what I'm saying? Pretty much you're the urban champ.
Yeah.
They should build a statue at your school just for winning your region.
Well, Tommy Thomas is one of, you and I are good friends, but he's a mentor of mine. And
I love Tommy.
He got down there one time with all of those teams that he had and the talent he had. He made it to that round, that one time. And yeah, it shows how hard it is. And then a great reminder too of enjoying the journey. And not getting so fixated on what's next. If you are fortunate enough to get there, reflect back on how hard it was and how many players helped you get to that point, but then enjoy it like Wes Watson did this year. What an incredible run.
Oh yeah, he really did enjoy it. Hey, did you ever see the movie Cool Runnings?
Oh yeah.
Oh, peace be the journey, man. Enjoy the journey, man. But there's something to be said for here, I'll give you my mom was famous for corny little one-liners. That's why I get them all right. And she used to always say, involve yourself in the precious present because the past is history. Tomorrow's a mystery, but the precious present, live in the moment. And it's really hard for me. I've told people that there's a song called Back in the High Life by Stevie Winwood. And it talks about a guy who things happen so fast that he had to slow life down to enjoy them. And I kind of, I sort of felt that way. And I'm happier now, retired. I love basketball, but it's just easier to be peaceful, and to enjoy the moment because sometimes I was so busy worrying about what was happening next. I wasn't sitting there just saying, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like every time, do you ever catch yourself just sitting in a gym sometimes and say, it's pretty cool, man. Somebody pays me to do this crap. Or
now,
Matt Saman, Matt Saman,
yeah.
Tommy Inman from Ottawa, Illinois. That little rat, that little knucklehead from down the street. Can you believe that little? And it's just kind of cool, man. Like somebody sent me a picture when we were at state. Somebody took the coolest picture and they sent them to me on an email, and it's a shot, and it shows. All right, the basket, then Nick Wise, and behind me is Nick Wise, or I'm behind Nick Wise, so I'm right on the shot line. And this guy shoots it from a little different angle and shows my mom, my aunt, Thomas Hill, my old buddy, the guy who played at Duke. We've been friends forever and ever. 2 of my high school teammates, just all right there. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, man. Because I grew up in this ratty little factory town, like a Youngstown, Ohio kind of place, and people from my town, my town just don't get chances like that. In fact, another thing was a funny story. When we get ready to go to state, I got a call from this guy on Sunday, and he was doing a newspaper article, for the Dallas Morning News. And he said, we talked about this and that. And he finally said, what do you say to the Barry Switzer comment that he said, you got to go to a championship twice to win it once? And I said, pardon my language. I said, it sounds like Barry got his ass kicked the first time, huh? Because that's what you said. So the guy says when he lost the first time and won the second time. So he kind of took it like I was being a little cocky. He said, so you think you can win it? And I said, you think I can't? And I went back to what he said. And then I said, guys from out of Illinois don't get 2 chances. We don't get 2. You get 1 chance. And I have to say, I really enjoyed that week. I totally slowed down and said, we probably won't win this because, how hard is it? You know what our margin was down there? We won by 2 in overtime, and we won by either 1 or 3 the night before. I mean, 2 possessions in 2 nights. So the 3 other teams that lost, what did they lose by? 2 possessions in 2 nights, right? There's not much margin. And so, you really got to enjoy it. Because if you're not careful, you look back and then you start becoming one of those old, coulda, woulda, shoulda back in the day guy. I am not that dude. I'm never going to be that guy because that would embarrass me.
Because I think it's such an easy pitfall to fall into where the wins and losses, playoff runs, state championships, we start to measure ourselves by that, or that horrible trap of comparison comes in. Why am I not as good as them? How do you stay confident, grateful, content where you're at while striving to do great things?
Well, see, I got a good weird answer because I'm the weird guy. But see, most people would say that whatever I'm about to answer would be, well, that's because you won. It was easy because you won at 43. So now the rest of the time you can kind of coast and take it easy. And I've always told people, number one, if anybody who thinks that we should be judged fairly by whether we do or don't win a state championship is an idiot, a complete idiot. And then I can think of 3 coaches. Let's go with schools that have had a checkered recruiting past. Okay, let's talk about Kimball. Let's talk about Duncanville, and let's talk about Marcus, Flower Mound Marcus. Okay, do the ends justify the means? Because one of these guys is the legendary coach of Texas. No, you cheated every single place you've gone. Yeah, every single. I'm not saying that. You know what I'm talking about. Every single place he's gone. Well, if you care that much about winning, I don't care. I'm not selling my soul. I'm just not doing it. So again, it's easy for you to say, well, you don't have to sell your soul because you won at 43, so you could retire at 55. I would have retired at 55 anyway. I saw Rick Shirley I was down there at the state tournament the last year when I was getting ready to retire, right? And I saw Rick. I've known him forever. Used to work with his brother. Rick, hey, Tom, what you doing, bud? The raspy old boss. Man, I'm tired of this BS. I'm getting out of this crap. I'm sick and tired of the tail wagging the dog. I hate football coaches. I'm sick of superintendents. I can't wait to tell the whole world to kiss my butt. Man, Tom, y'all to stick around a couple more years. You could be out here getting 1, 3, 4, 500 rings. I said, Rick, I don't even know how many games I've won, but I put my ring on my middle finger. And I said, but I know the one I did. And I just walked. I love Rick, but I don't measure myself by that. And I think it's shallow. I bet 10 different guys who are millionaires, right? And let's talk about a bell curve. Of those 10 guys, probably 2 of them never say a word. Probably 2 of them never shut up. And everything else is some shade of gray in between, more than likely, right? I think it reflects poorly on you. It reflects poorly on you. You have to have everything be measured. So is that any comfort to a guy who doesn't win state? Most people don't win state. Give me a break, man. I'm almost embarrassed because people would say like, you're this and that. It's like, man, I know so many coaches that are so much better. Tommy Thomas being better, just right off the top. Stan Hicks was better than me. Tommy Thomas was better than me. Ron Powell was better than me. Joe Rushing was better than me. I mean, I could go on and on and on with a bunch of guys that, never won state, right? And so that makes me feel awkward in a way because I got survivor's guilt. And then for the people who say, well, hell, you should have won. You had all these players. I said, well, every championship team's got great players, but every team with great players don't win championships. Go ask LeBron.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
those walking robots he's got out in LA, you know.
Well, he's been there a ton, but he hasn't won it. I mean, he's won it less than he's been there, which is
Well,
which it's awesome that he's got there, but that's I mean, the LeBron Jordan comparison.
can I have one epic rant? I'll do it in 30 seconds.
Well, you can go longer than 30 seconds.
Okay. Anybody out there that ever wants to compare Michael Jordan and LeBron James needs to just shut up. Okay. You're embarrassing yourself. It's a matter of facts. Michael, 6 finals, 6 rings, 6 MVPs, never went to a game 7, never picked his teammates, got the living crap beat out of him by the Detroit Pistons, hated his general manager, hated his owner, and fought through it all. LeBron James has been to 10. LeBron James has won 3. LeBron James is a passive-aggressive king of not telling what he's really doing. He's been the general manager of every single one of those teams. He's a coach killer from hell. And the biggest difference is LeBron wants everyone to like him, and Michael don't give a damn if you don't like him. End of the drop the mic. Shut up, young people.
Watch Last Dance, and you'll know that for sure. Yeah.
Well, you know what's really sad is somebody said something to me one time, and it applies to Michael Jordan. He said, if you're over 50 and all your friends are people you pay, you ain't got no friends. Well, does Michael have buddies? He goes out and shoots pool with and plays golf? No,
Man.
he doesn't. You know, they call him, I grew up in Chicago, right? That's where I'm from, right? You know, if they call him and Pippen up there, they've had nicknames for 30 years. Michael Jordan's nickname is America's guest because he doesn't pay for anything. Michael Jordan's presence is your gift. You pay for it. Right? That which is arrogant and dismissive and condescending on epic levels. And Scottie Pippen's country, but they call him No Tippin' Pippen. That's the truth. I know people got stiff. Scottie Pippen come in with a $100 bill and leave $2. So, I mean, I don't know. Go back to the comparison. I think Michael Jordan's a lesser person. You don't remember his famous line? What Michael Jordan said one time when Horace Grant calls him up and says, I want you to endorse this guy. He's a black guy running for office down in South Carolina. Mike says, no, I can't do it. Horace thought he's kidding. He said, come on, man, Mike, I need you to do this. He goes, I can't do it. What are you talking about? He goes, Republicans buy shoes too.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
How many more shoes did he need to sell for his life to be comfortable, right? So
see, you're right on the money, though. I wish people would stop comparing those two. And also, we're all sinners. We all have issues and baggage. But I wish we'd start to look at the positives a little bit more, like about a LeBron. And all of the positives, the fact that in his 19-year career, I can't really think of a huge scandal outside of basketball that he's been a part of.
Right. And a tremendous husband, a tremendous father, all that. Yeah. No, and let me go back and clarify for anyone who just heard that little rant. I'm only talking basketball.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm right there with you. I completely agree with everything you said basketball wise about him. There's this great article that I show to my players every few years. It just kind of comes up in my mind, but it says it's called "Do You Still Want to Be Like Mike?" And it's an interview of an older Michael Jordan just talking about how he can't turn the competitive part off. He is just empty, and this drive to just be excellent at any cost is. He's like, I don't know what to do with it. And
well, it is. It was the fuel. It was the fuel that got him 6 rings, and it's the poison that's eating him up from inside.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He talked about gambling and how. I mean, I was at a casino in Tahoe years ago. Got to walk by a table where he was sitting, and you mentioned the presence. You just see him walking around. And you like, golly, there's something different about that dude. If I didn't know who he was, I'd think, who is it? And
whatever he does for a living, he does it at a high level.
Yeah, but he's sitting there by himself with a 12-inch cigar, playing 6 hands of blackjack at one time. And I did the math real quick. Every hand was more than I make in a year. Every hand, and he's playing them all by himself at his own table in a crowded room of other people. It's just
like a fish in a fishbowl, right?
Yeah.
Well, and ask yourself, would you rather be the guy that? I mean, entourages are kind of goofy and tacky when you have all your homeboys hanging out with you, but at least you got homeboys. Where are Jordans? So back to clarify, LeBron will be a much happier post-retiree, than Michael's going through the classic athlete midlife crisis kind of thing, but it goes back to one thing. You reap what you sow. When you treat everyone bad, I mean, and the thing about it is like, there are times I would challenge a guy, and he could get kind of edgy and nasty, but I would always work it out that day. You always say, don't go to bed angry with your wife. Well, don't leave the gym pissed off just to see how it works out. And Jordan just never cared. So anyone who thinks they can yell and scream their teammates in and win a championship, shut up, because Jordan had a lot to do with it, but a lot of other things had a lot to do with it.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.